Okay. So, hello world. I am so excited. My name is Leanne Reagan, and I am the founder and facilitator of the Learning and Development Roundtable, where anyone at all in the world who's interested in learning is welcome to participate. And today I have an extra special treat. I am here with an extraordinary, now he's super humble, so he might be blushing at this, but an extraordinary human being who is a dear friend, an artist, a humanitarian, a musician, an epic dancer, a meditator. Did I say humanitarian? And all of that grew out of being a former child soldier. So I'm so excited today to introduce you to Emmanuel Jal. Welcome, Jal. We're so honored that you are spending time with us today. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Leanne, for making me part of your initiative, this learning table. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Jal, I think that humans have a lot of complicated and multiple layers to them. And sometimes we get in trouble when we see people as flat and we see them as only one thing. But you, my friend, have more layers than most people. So how do you sum up who you are and what you're about? How do you sum up? Who is Emmanuel? So for someone who's never had the pleasure of meeting you, who is Emmanuel Jal?
So in terms of my skill, who I am, I would say I'm a creative who create experiences that gives people joy and happiness, which means I tell stories, I make music, I come with content that can support people. And I would describe myself, that is me, a creative that create experiences that gives people joy. And what guides that is my vision. You know, my vision is to share my experiences for social emotional learning, to create conscious global awakening. And that is through the arts, business, and philanthropy. And somebody may ask, what is conscious global awakening? It's a state of awareness that raises your standard in thinking, planning, organization, empathy, self-development. So you expand your mind. Every experience that you experience, you look at it as a moment to grow.
Absolutely.
And that would allow us to create the positive outcome we're looking for.
Thanks, Jal. That's really well put. And you know, I was thinking as I was getting ready for this, you know, as a former child soldier in South Sudan, your life could have taken, you know, you're coming to us today from Toronto, Canada, but your life could have taken a very different turn, including lifelong violence, addiction, poverty, hatred, you know, all of those kinds of things. What were some of the key things that turned your life around to have this perspective of bringing awareness and peace and you know, to folks all over the world? What one or two key things do you think turned that life around?
It's a journey. A person don't change at once. Once bitterness is brought into you, once hatred is put in you, once violence is put in you, it can turn you to become, you call it a masochist, or it could make you a sadist.
Oh, okay, a masochist or a sadist, yeah.
Yes, it can either turn you to self-destroy yourself. For the rest of your life, you're just scratching yourself, you inflict pain. There's a journey in my life where I used to bite myself so hard, just biting myself and focusing on that pain, and it relaxed me. But that's physical one. But there's internal beating of self, blaming yourself. Or it can make you a sadist, where you see pain in others. So I went through those two journeys. One, which my desire was to kill as many Muslims as possible, because I wanted to revenge. The bitterness has an energy to take. But when you don't have an opportunity to be able to actually get justice with your own hand,
Mm-hmm.
and you're overwhelmed. Now you turn into yourself.
Yeah.
And that become a self-destructive person. But there's the middle step, which is where we are supposed to be. How there's two extreme. How do we come in the middle?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I would say, which lay a foundation that supported me in my journey, is I always wanted to be a part of a solution. I wanted to be among those people
Mm-hmm.
who are making the world a better place. I always say, like, there's a better thing for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I would credit my mom for planting those seeds in the early childhood, and where the destruction happened, and she'll say, we're all children of God. This disagreement is brought to us by the devil. There is goodness in everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I can remember as a kid, we had Arab neighbors that were nice to us. When the Eid come, they bring us sweet and they bring us. So and it take me on a journey, okay, then what about this people? So there's a confusion to be able to tell. But when hate comes, when bitterness comes, it occupies your heart and then your mental.
Yeah.
And so I would say the window was that wanting not to think about myself. Just thinking about myself was not motivating enough. It wasn't giving me enough motivation. But when I think about my sister, I think about the possibility that could happen where I would lie down. I used to play imagination game, and I'm sure every kid does this. Where I would lie down and I imagine myself as a pilot. I've never been in the plane, and I'll fly up in the sky. And I'll drop biscuits, foods, and then I like that, and I'll feel good. And then the next imagination, I imagine myself as a teacher. Or I imagine myself like my dad, a commander in the field, and I'll see how that is. I have many soldiers, and I'm commanding, and I'm freeing people. And all of those imaginations helped me in my difficult times. But now, reality was in my face every time. And one of the things, this imagination, one time a question came into my mind where we're starving. There's no food. You know? We arrive at this place. Oh my God. This was a swampy place. Like we were drinking our own urine to survive. There was no water. We survived thirst. But now we arrive, after surviving thirst, we arrive at a place that is a lot of water, but we can't find food. And as we're walking in this swampy ground, what happened is we were starving, that when a soldier fall down, that's it. You just see the bubbles. You just see the bubbles. There were so many mosquitoes that were swarming out. And they will lie in my face. You don't have time to do this. After they have settled down that you can rarely see, all you have to do is wipe them. And several times. By the time you go, it's like you've been in a battlefield because of blood that those mosquitoes were trying to have. And sometimes I would lick them, but there were not enough energy. At this moment, I remember there was an elder, a bigger soldier, a young child soldier fell down. And this man tried to bend down to try to help him. They drowned together. But if you look at the water where they're drowning, it's not, to me, the water was up to here. Maybe to the soldier, it was probably up to here. But just bending down, the energy just to go down with the water to get up, easy. And in this moment, we were all going to die in it. And a thought came into my head and said, why don't you grab those snails and eat them? Because there's a lot of snails floating. And then when you find a little place up, you can cook them. So as I move slowly, so I begin to drop my luggage. For anything I pick, I have to lose something.
Isn't that a metaphor?
I have to lose some of my bullets. I have to choose now. I have this magazine. This one is 30. I throw that away. So you have to lose. What do you lose? So I had a lot. I stripped myself to almost less, so I could be able to carry the snails. So I carry some of the snails. When we arrive in this place, which is slightly a little tiny place, which is like a mount hunt. You know, like those little ants, they create a place,
Mm-hmm.
you know, water place, a little place, and we light a fire, and I ate my first snails.
Mm.
Others were laughing at me, but they joined, and that became our fourth meal.
Mm. Mm.
So the questions that used to come in my head in this difficult time is, now you want to be that. What can you do now in this challenge? That's what matters. What can you do now? And that's the question that came that allowed me to get the snail.
Yeah.
But at a situation like that, there was another place where we were also starving in that tree. And that same question comes, why don't you eat that tree? If you don't die, come and share it with the rest. And so that's what I always do. I go out, I try. It doesn't kill me. I share it with the rest.
So there's something there.
Sorry.
Jal. So there's something there about like lifting your head up, you know, amongst all of the horrors and the unbelievable atrocities that you witnessed, to look ahead to tomorrow, to where you're headed, to have a direction where you're going, and then to also be very present in the moment, to look around you for snails or edible trees or things like that. I think that's a really powerful balance of, you know, I think some people focus on one or the other. So that's a powerful lesson. And I know you've taken all of those, you know, those experiences and lessons that could have really made your life turn in a very different direction. And I know relatively recently, you've been working on a project called My Life is Art. Can you tell us a bit about that? And like, where did that come from? Tell us a bit about that program. We'd love to hear more.
Well, My Life is Art is basically, it's provide individuals or leaders with tools to think clearly and strategically, to reach their potential, but also to manage their emotions and their thoughts and engaging them to create the life they want to create. So it's a 360 approach to life. So, you know, it aligns your purpose, vision, and your mission with your goals. So it's a practice. It's not like I go for a workshop. No, it's about getting yourself into that practice. And the root cause of it is my childhood. You know, life is full of suffering. And in that suffering, it gives our life no meaning. In that suffering, we can feel like we have no meaning. But when we find ourselves in that suffering, we find our purpose in that suffering, then our lives give us a meaning. So from what I understood in my past is when we get to know our purpose, then our life, every experience has a meaning. No matter how difficult it is, it becomes an experience that is just meant for.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And there's nobody who can take it. The biggest challenge is we stick our emotions to the experiences that brought us pain. And that robbed us the value which those experiences given us.
It clouds it from seeing what the lessons were, what it was there to teach us.
The thing that most about suffering is life can put you in provisional existence where you exist to suffer. You wake up every day, you're suffering. It's the worst thing for a person to get stuck there.
Yeah.
But when you know your purpose, that suffering is going to make you stronger and know yourself so you can respond to it.
Yeah.
Because the suffering is personalized to you, to train you, to make you to become the best you.
Yeah, it shows, it opens up the path forward.
Yeah. So when I was in Toronto, I reached, each one of us one day will reach a point, a plateau where you're not moving at all. You're stuck. You're not growing. You have your purpose, yes, but your mind can't. So you're stuck in that part where you can't move. So my projects were not moving properly. Nothing was moving properly. And then I asked myself, what did I do to get here? What was the thing that I used to do when I was in the jungle? Then I realized I started writing down, oh, this is what I used to do. Okay, what did this do to me? Did that. Okay, when I was having traumatic experience, what did I do? I did that. When my mind was not working at that time, so I wrote down everything and I thought, this is what I did to get me here. Why did I stop? And then My Life is Art was born, the entire concept. And I started practicing it myself, and it started changing me. And then the people around me started to follow. So in terms of what I want to put it is, what trauma does, it robs you everything. And I always ask a question, who owns your mind? Is it fear, worry, anxiety, or poverty? Who owns your mind? Because the battles are fought in the mind and they're won in the heart. And whoever owns your mind owns you in everything you create. And so what on my life, as you can see, what on my mind and dominated my life, I had fears, I had worries, I had anxiety, I had poverty in my mind, unworthiness, shame. But what dominated each and every step of my life after I was able to be in a peaceful environment was trauma. And what is it? I call it a soul murder, a mental genocide, an invasion of demons to occupy space in your mind. So you have flashbacks in the day and nightmares at night. And where did it come from? It's rooted in my childhood experience, my experience of the past playing themselves at the moment, loop.
So basically, your My Life is Art project has taken all of the lessons, if I understand you correctly, that brought you forward from that trauma, from that unspeakable atrocities and horror, and made you into this incredible, healthy, kind, giving artist that you are today. That's what the My Life is Art project is about. Is that correct?
Well, it's not just only about that. So there's what that allowed me to survive in that journey. There were two forces. One, I would say there was bitterness that did its job. So I was able to weigh the energy. I was bitter. It allowed me to finish my training. It allowed me to do difficult times. But there was purpose, which was maintaining me. It was a different energy. So the battle was between walking in my purpose or walking in this bitterness that could make me a sadist. Or how do you call it? Masochist?
Masochist. Yeah, it's a hard word. Masochist.
How do you call it?
Masochist.
Masochist. Yeah, so there's those two things. I turn to internally distract because one thing I came to realize is this, and I hope everybody understands this, is trauma, mental poverty, and high stress, they have one thing in common. They shut down the faculties of our mind that deals with long-term projects. Now, these three things can turn us into self-destruction, into masochist or sadist, because they disconnect us from anything. They rob us our purpose. They rob us our value. They rob us our dignity. They stretch us down. Maybe someone may ask me, what do you mean by stress? I would want to share a little story. When I was in the bush, the life we had in the jungle was different. We faced a challenge. The stress that came to us was like an ally. It united your entire senses, and all your focus is one. Energy to survive, and everything is united against that. We do things well. Even to the point of defeat, you still focus. No distraction. And then when you're defeated, you breathe, and you can say, what's next? What can we do next? You pick on. But the stress in the Western country is not normal. It's unique in its own. And it is moving so fast to capture the rest of the world.
Jal, I wanted to ask you about that in terms of, you know, some people hearing your story might think, you know, how can I relate to a South Sudanese child soldier? But I think one of the magical pieces about you is that you are so relatable. And I know that you do high level executive coaching. Can you talk a little bit about what kinds of stresses, what kinds of issues, what kinds of problems are your clients bringing to you?
Well, human beings' problems are universal, but each one of them is unique to self. We've been born differently. Each one of us has a dream. Now, and each one of us dream is different. Each one of us has a purpose, but our purpose serves the collective purpose. Now, but it is zoomed into two things. There's two fundamental things. Each one of us, okay, we all have gifts that have been encoded in us. There's things that only us can do in this world.
Yeah.
Now, our dreams, our purpose, and our skills will not serve us best if we don't have the right habits and the right beliefs. Every person that you see that has succeeded in life has a built-in motivating circuit. And the built-in motivating circuit is what separates everybody else. And what is it made of? It's made of limiting beliefs and positive beliefs. In ourselves, you have your own limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
And you have your own positive beliefs.
Yeah. And are those the kinds of things that you work with people about? Is the limiting beliefs and identifying positive beliefs and identifying one's purpose and ways to keep going and keep motivating? Is that the things that you work with people on?
It's a variety. Each and every person can do their mental analysis and a heart analysis. So you look at yourself deeply and you see what are the things. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I look at myself. What do I need to change? For example, focus. Let's talk about focus. Okay, I had trauma, yes, but my mental poverty became focus. Focus is like putting water to a seed. When you put a seed under a rock and it comes under the you put a seed under a rock and put water on it. No matter how heavy that rock is, that seed will lift it to live. So focus is energy. Whatever we give attention come to life. And now you could go on social media. Everybody's looking for attention.
Yeah.
That photo, whatever information, because once you look, you give that person relevant. You give that person life. And those who have millions and millions of followers, they are only relevant. Imagine if nobody visit their page for a year, they would collapse.
Yeah.
And now that's why they have to engage themselves. How do I engage them to focus on me? How do I shine brighter? So focus was an issue I had because it was so difficult for me to do anything. So I had to put myself down. How do I create it? And it's the same formula that I used to overcome my trauma. And because our mind can be rewired, we can rewire our brain. And so I want to describe something quickly, why habits and beliefs. So basically, once you identify and diagnose yourself what you want, for example, if it's focus, then you go on a meditation with an intention of bringing focus into your life. And we set them to create mantras about focus. We see what feet reward them, and they repeat that 200 times a day for 30 days. Now, what would that do? By repeating it, it will what? It would activate their motivation circuit and create a belief.
Mm.
that they are actually focused. Once the belief is created, that's the first step, creating the belief. So that means you're letting the other belief, because the belief is what grounds it. So once they actually believe they're focused and it's put there, then now we can now back it up where they can go and do conscious learning. They feed their soul, learn about focus. The stories of people struggle with focus. How can I get focused? They are doing the mantras, they're learning the knowledge. They collect the knowledge, they collect the wisdom. Then the third step, because why do we get them to get stories? Because our lives are shaped by the stories we hear, and our success depends on the stories we are told.
Yeah.
Guided meditation, which strengthened the focus of a child, was done by women, storytelling. A child lie down on the bed and you tell them a story. That's a guided meditation, which increased the focus of a child. Us, we were distracted by war. My mom was pregnant when there's war, so we keep running from one place. How would I gain focus? Learning begins from the belly. Each and every woman, if you're going to be pregnant, you need to know, okay, how am I going to live my life? If you're going to live calmly, that child is going to learn how to become. The learning begins there. And a lot of people think, oh, why is my kid head all over? Because your head is all over when you're with the child, and the child learns through observation and also through energy by observing it. And so we go back into the roots of that. So we can now, by through repetition, exposing ourselves in that challenge, we are saving this knowledge. But what actually next step is practice, incremental step of action, where they have to now practice to focus. Now, what will happen when they do those three things for 30 days? When they do that for 30 days properly every day, what will happen is the brain releases something called neurotrophins. And the neurotrophins will create new dendrites in their brain to absorb those information for short term and save them for long term.
Yeah.
And what we're looking for in this process is something called myelin. The thicker it is, the better. That's what changes the life of a person.
Yeah.
And it can stay 30 to 50 years. So just imagine, if you were born without proper focus, without proper habits in your life, and you're a CEO of a company, you're going to carry that with you.
Yeah.
So the journey is, what are those habits, the bad habits that I have, and the bad beliefs? What could I do? And what do they do inside? What does the belief actually do? When you have the right belief in your head, what it does is it becomes your internal voice, internal guide. It will project the future for you, your present and the past, and show you the different fears and measure your emotion and reaction and allow you to make the perfect decision. Because our decisions, you see, our emotions, the summation of emotion we generate every day make our decision, and the summation of decision we make every day create our future. So there's no shortcut.
Yeah.
You have to do the best. Yeah, go on, sorry.
So, no, it's great. It's great. And I'm just thinking of the people that will be watching you. You know, lots of UN staff and people from all over the world who are very mission driven and social change oriented and are working in a variety of different ways to achieve that. So I love from what I've heard, it's really like a holistic view of learning and really focusing on motivation and habits and focusing on learning from the head and focusing on learning from the heart and emotions and putting that all into practice. And you've mentioned 30 days. And for those who are watching, I'll give you a bunch of links. And one of them is to Jal's 30-day challenge. So I'm just thinking, you know, you've lived in a refugee camp, you've been, you know, a child soldier, you've toured around the world, you've performed at the UN, you've spoken at the White House, and many, many, many more things. And I know you're a super, super humble person. When you think about, you know, if we think about this current time in COVID, you know, never have we been so far apart and distance as humanity with the ability to be so close, you know, through technology and all of these amazing tools that we have now. So when you think about all the experiences you've been through, what advice or thoughts would you give to people who are working globally, who are mission driven, who are working for social change? What advice would you give to folks like that?
What I'll ask question. What is your
Mm,
purpose?
mm, mm, mhm,
Because when you walk in your purpose with clear defined goals and a burning desire to act,
mm.
success will follow you like your shadow.
Oh,
When you walk in your purpose, you're in sync with
mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
You are not alone.
Mm,
Every soul you touch has your
mm,
back.
mm,
So when you walk in your purpose, you can activate joy and peace of mind every day.
mm,
I live
mm,
here alone
mm.
in my house. And some people would wonder, hey, Jal, we're worried about you. And say, no, why? Because you're alone. I say, no. There are people who are with people and they're lonely.
Mm, mhm.
I am
Yes,
here. I'm
yes.
not lonely. I know my purpose. I know my vision. I know my
Yeah,
mission.
yeah,
So every minute, every day is priceless.
yeah,
And I'm enjoying every day.
yeah,
I have lost in the past, but my past has brought for me so much wealth because I'm not attaching myself to the pain.
yeah,
I'm touching myself to the value it's bring.
yeah,
So with what I could say, what's your purpose? And I would say the next thing you could do is by knowing your purpose, then you can build everything around it. What's
yeah.
your vision? What's your mission?
Mm,
What is your daily rituals?
mhm,
How is your spiritual status?
mm,
How is your emotional status?
mm.
How is your mental status?
So again, very, very
How is your
holistic.
social status? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
How is your physical status? Now, how are
Mm,
you as a being? Are you looking at everything too? And then you need to do an adjustment and see, okay, yeah, there
mhm,
is work. There's 24 hours a day. Suffering will continue to be there.
mm.
How do you work strategically?
Yeah.
Are you investing in yourself? Do you have a moment for yourself where you just sit and do
Mm,
nothing?
mm. I think I need to create a checklist from those things that you just said. Those are really wise words. And I love your comment about, what did you say? When you know your purpose, success follows you like a shadow. I think that's impeccable. Just as we start to get towards the end of our time together for now, Jal, I know you have an education pack that you have available on your website. And by the way, to those watching us right now, I'll share all these links and make those available. I love how you talk about having people focus on thinking, on doing, and improving. So my last question to you for now is, do you have one kind of top tip for thinking, one top tip for doing, and one for improving?
Well, for our mind to think to serve us better, it requires space
Mm,
because mental poverty, trauma, and high stress prevent us from thinking ahead. Like we're
yeah,
not able to see beyond a year, beyond a month, beyond what thinking it become difficult
yeah.
because the left side of our brain can do a lot of the thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trying to push it, so I would want to say, what are you doing about that? How are you
Mm-hmm.
expanding that space to think?
Okay.
And that could mean you need to dance. Just go
Yeah,
and dance, do a
yeah,
little bit of yoga and do a bit of breathing, and then now come and think. Then
yeah.
you'll be able to think because you've created space.
I love that.
See
Okay,
what I'm
so
saying?
so expand your space for thinking. Brilliant. Okay, and what about doing?
Yeah.
What's your top tip for doing?
Action. What is
Taking
it that is
action.
important to you? What is
Yeah.
it that is really important? What is
Action
it
that's
that you
aligned
want
with
to
your
bring into this
purpose.
world? What
Yeah.
are you doing about it? What's your plan for the month,
Yeah.
plan for the year, plan for the
Nice.
week? How does it look like in 30 years? How
Yeah.
does that impact you, your family, and everybody around?
Yeah. The
What are you
community, the
doing
world.
about it? Stop
Nice.
running around. Just do it.
And focus, right? Okay. And what about
Yeah.
improving, the last one? What's your top suggestion for improving and learning and growing and
What is the habits you need to create
mm, mm,
and the belief?
okay.
You see, our minds automatically will always look for negativity. But it's our responsibility to look for positivity.
Yeah.
Because when we don't look for positivity, then our mind will create for us stories that are not true.
Yes, I call them uninvited guests. Yeah, get rid of those
Yeah.
uninvited guests. Okay.
So you have to discipline it. How are you disciplining your mind? For example, my mind used to be so fun, and it reminded me of a monkey. I saw a monkey with their baby. So this monkey with their baby, the baby jumped out, and the mom went to grab the baby, and they walk around the baby, bite the mom, and jump onto the tree. And the mom ran and grabbed the baby and give the baby a slap. And the baby was quiet, going together. By the time she realized the mom was relaxed, the baby jumped off. And I said, that's how my mind is. How do I get it over?
Yeah.
So how do you get to develop, to train your mind, even 3 seconds?
Yeah.
And so like, if anybody's interested in tools like that, we have My Life is Art meditation app, and they could download it and use it.
I'll give a link to your website, your 30-day challenge, the My Life is Art app. Those will all be included. Jal, I could talk to you, anytime we spend together. I just feel like time, passes in a blur. So I want to say a heartfelt, from my mind and from my heart, I want to say a focused, grateful thank you for your time and sharing all of this. And also a thank you from the Learning and Development Roundtable members who will be watching this. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you, sister. Peace is you. I'm sorry, I have to go now. Somebody's